Dear students, in the previous class we have discussed about the nature of sound. Today we are studying about the anatomy or the structure of human ear. The human ear has three parts. They are the outer ear, middle ear and inner ear. The external ear or the outer ear is comprised of pinna or auricle and the external auditory canal or external auditory meatus. Pinna or auricle is the outer part of the ear that we see outside. The function of pinna is to capture important sound vibrations and direct them towards the interior of the ear through the external auditory canal. This external auditory canal is also called external auditory meatus. You can see there are certain elevations and depressions in the pinna. They are the hills and valleys of pinna. These hills and valleys modify the character of sound that enters into the ear. They enhance certain sound frequencies whereas they suppress other frequencies. The shape of the pinna is also important in identifying the direction from which the sound is heard and also the distance of the source of sound, whether it is far or near. In the case of mammals like cat, they can move their pinna and direct it towards the sound. In this picture, you can see it very clearly. But human beings are not able to move pinna. But still, pinna is very important for gathering sound waves, enhancing certain sound frequencies and suppressing other frequencies, and also for identifying the direction and distance of the source of sound. Pinna directs the sound waves into the external auditory canal. The second part of the ear is the middle ear. Middle ear is comprised of eardrum or tympanum, Eustachian tube and bones of the middle ear located in the middle ear cavity. There are three bones in the middle ear arranged one after the other forming a chain called the ossicular chain. Here you can clearly see the ossicular chain. It is formed of three small ear bones or ear ossicles. They are the malleus, incus and stapes. Malleus is attached to the eardrum at one end and the other end of the malleus is attached to incus. Incus connects malleus and stapes. Stapes is connected to the inner ear. So here you can see that the ear ossicles are arranged in the form of an ossicular chain that connects the external ear with the inner ear like a bridge. Look at this picture. The base of the stapes bone is broad and it is called foot plate. At the point where stapes is attached to the inner ear, there is an opening which is covered with a membranous covering. This membrane covered opening of the inner ear is called oval window. The broad foot plate of stapes bone rests on the oval window. Now let us think what is the function of these ear ossicles. We have seen that the sound waves are collected by the external ear and directed towards the tympanum. When the sound waves hit tympanum, it vibrates. When the tympanum vibrates, the ear ossicular chain connected to the tympanum also vibrates. Thus, vibrations of the tympanum are transferred to the ear ossicles. The ossicular chain is like a bridge between the tympanum and the oval window. You see here the tympanum is larger in size than the oval window. The ossicular chain is actually focusing the vibrational pressures from the larger sized tympanum onto a small oval window. This actually amplifies the sound pressure. Now let us see about two muscles that help in improving auditory perception and protect the delicate inner ear from loud and potentially damaging sounds. These muscles are tensor tympani and stapedius muscle. When there is a loud sound, these muscles get activated and they stiffen the linkages of middle ear bones. Thus, the effectiveness of sound is reduced and the delicate inner ear is protected from getting damaged. When we move our body parts or when we swallow food or take a breath, we don't hear these sounds as distractingly loud because of these muscles. These muscles help protecting our ears from physical damage due to loud noises. Animals like bats produce loud calls and they depend on this system to protect their ears. The middle ear is having a cavity and the ear ossicles are present in this cavity. The middle ear cavity is filled with air and air is supplied through a tube called the Eustachian tube or auditory tube. The auditory tube equalizes the air pressure in the outer ear and middle ear. Normally, the auditory tube is closed, but when we are chewing or swallowing, then the auditory tube opens for a short while and the air pressure in the middle ear equalizes with that of the air pressure outside. This is very important for proper hearing. If the pressure in the middle ear is not equal to the air pressure outside, then the tympanum will be bulging outward or inward. This will cause discomfort and tympanum cannot properly transmit vibrations to the ear ossicles and we can't hear properly. So, in order to equalize the pressure in the middle ear cavity with that of the external air pressure, auditory tube is supplying air to the middle ear cavity. Is it clear? Now coming to the third part of the ear, that is inner ear. Inner ear is located in a cavity in the temporal bone of the skull. The inner ear has two parts, bony labyrinth and membranous labyrinth. Bony labyrinth is the outer part and membranous labyrinth is the inner part. The part of the inner ear that you see here in purple color is bony labyrinth and the inner part that you see in blue color is the membranous labyrinth. First, let us see about bony labyrinth. Bony labyrinth consists of a series of bony cavities within the temporal bone. The bony labyrinth is comprised of cochlea, vestibule and three semicircular canals. The bony labyrinth is filled with a fluid called perilymph. Located inside the bony labyrinth is the membranous labyrinth of the inner ear. The membranous labyrinth is composed of cochlear duct, semicircular canals, utricle and saccule. The membranous labyrinth is filled with a fluid called endolymph. The function of inner ear is not just hearing, it has dual functions. In addition to hearing, inner ear is also concerned with balance and equilibrium. The parts of the inner ear like the semicircular canal, utricle and saccule, they are all concerned with balance and equilibrium. Here we are studying about auditory perception and we will be focusing on the part of the inner ear that is concerned with hearing. The part of the inner ear that is concerned with hearing is cochlea. Cochlea converts the vibrations that reach the inner ear into neural signals so that we can perceive sound. The term cochlea is derived from the Greek word koklos, which means snail. You can see here the cochlea looks like the coiled shell of a snail. The size of coiled cochlea is only about 4 mm in diameter. If it is uncoiled, the length of the cochlea is about 35 to 40 mm. The base of the cochlea is broad and the other end of the cochlea is narrow and it is the apex of the cochlea. The cochlea has three parallel canals. They are scala tympani, scala media and scala vestibuli. All the three canals are filled with fluid. The scala tympani and scala vestibuli are filled with a fluid called perilymph and the fluid in scala media is different, it is called endolymph. The scala vestibuli is also called vestibular canal, scala media is also called cochlear canal and scala tympani is also called tympanic canal. The fluid filled inner ear is having two windows. They are not just openings, but they are membrane covered openings. There are two such windows in the inner ear. One is the oval window and the other one is the round window. The oval window is the part where the ear ossicles of the middle ear connects with the inner ear. The vibrations carried by the ear ossicles are transmitted to the inner ear by the membrane bound oval window. We have seen that the inner ear is filled with fluid. When the vibrations reach the inner ear, it will cause the movement of the fluid in the inner ear. This fluid is non-compressible and movement of this fluid requires a second membrane bound window that can bulge outward a little bit, that is the round window. The round window separates scala tympani or the tympanic canal from the middle ear. At the apex of the cochlea, the vestibular canal and tympanic canal meets and this junction is called helicotrema. The vibrations from the vestibular canal moves into the tympanic canal at helicotrema and causes bulging of round window. The group of cells specially concerned with hearing are located in the scala media or cochlear canal. These cells form the organ of Corti. Here you see the cross section of cochlea and you can see the three canals: vestibular canal, cochlear canal and tympanic canal. The organ of Corti is located in the cochlear canal or scala media. The cochlear canal and tympanic canal are separated by a membrane called basilar membrane. Organ of Corti lies on the basilar membrane. Here you can see the organ of Corti lying on the basilar membrane. The organ of Corti consists of sensory cells or hair cells, supporting cells, terminations of auditory nerve fibers and tectorial membrane. The sensory cells or the hair cells are the ciliated cells. The tectorial membrane is lying above the ciliated cells. The cilia of the sensory cells, called stereocilia, are projecting towards the tectorial membrane. At the other end of the sensory cells, they are innervated by the nerve fibers of cochlear branch of the 8th cranial nerve or the auditory nerve. Today we have seen the structure of human ear in detail. In the next class, we will study the physiology of hearing or the process involved in hearing. To understand the physiology of hearing, you should know the structure of ear thoroughly. So study well. If you have any doubts, you can contact me. Thank you.